The caretaker arrived at the school every morning long before anyone else. He moved quietly through the hallways, sweeping floors, arranging chairs, and tidying classrooms. Students would often hurry past him, some whispering jokes, others barely noticing he was there. Teachers greeted him politely but rarely engaged beyond the necessary words. The caretaker had long accepted this as the natural rhythm of his life, content to perform his work diligently and without fanfare. Yet beneath his calm exterior, he carried a passion that few knew about. Hidden away in a small corner of the school auditorium was a piano, and to it he had devoted countless hours in private, learning and practicing in silence. His hands, though calloused from his daily work, moved over the keys with grace and precision, producing music that was nothing short of extraordinary. He often thought about the students who laughed or ignored him. They had no idea what they were missing. The piano was his refuge, a place where he could express himself freely, away from judgment and ridicule. Each note he played was a reflection of years of dedication, a product of quiet perseverance that had become an integral part of his life. The caretaker understood that true mastery required patience and humility, and he had spent decades perfecting his craft without seeking recognition or applause. His music was personal, a secret joy that gave him peace and fulfillment. One morning, as the school prepared for a special event in the auditorium, there was an air of excitement. The students were chattering about their performances. Teachers were checking schedules, and the janitorial staff were making sure everything was spotless. Amid the bustling preparations, someone jokingly mentioned the caretaker. The comment was lighthearted at first, a playful suggestion that he should be asked to play the piano at the event. Laughter followed, and the idea was treated as a funny thought, a way to entertain the crowd with what they assumed would be a humble, unremarkable performance. The caretaker, overhearing the suggestion from his quiet corner, felt a familiar stir of nerves. He knew that if he agreed, the laughter would likely be directed at him rather than with him. Despite the teasing, there was a part of him that felt a quiet challenge. For years he had been underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed, yet he had nurtured a talent that was undeniable. The idea of playing in front of a crowd, even one that expected mockery, sparked a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. He knew that if he could gather the courage to perform, he would have the chance to reveal a side of himself that no one had ever seen. This thought lingered in his mind as he continued his morning routine, sweeping the floors and arranging chairs, the soft rhythm of his movements mirroring the rhythm he would soon create on the piano. The students continued to joke, unaware of the depths of skill that lay hidden within the caretaker. They imagined a simple tune, perhaps a clumsy melody, and the laughter grew louder. Some teachers, too, chuckled at the idea, thinking it would be a light-hearted moment for the assembly. The caretaker, however, felt a quiet determination. He had spent years perfecting his craft, and the thought of finally sharing it with others, even in the face of skepticism, ignited a sense of purpose. He decided to accept the challenge, not for the applause, not for recognition, but to let the music speak for itself. As the day progressed, the caretaker prepared himself mentally. He adjusted his work clothes, making sure he looked presentable, though he knew appearances were secondary to the performance. The auditorium was being readied, and he walked past students practicing their lines and songs, hearing their voices carry through the hall. He felt a mixture of nervousness and resolve. This was a moment that could change perceptions, a chance to show that talent and dedication could not be judged by appearances alone. The anticipation built quietly within him, like a gentle crescendo before the first note was played. When the time came for the caretaker to take his place at the piano, the room erupted with laughter and whispers. Students nudged each other, expecting a comical display, while teachers exchanged knowing smiles, anticipating a light-hearted moment to entertain the crowd. The caretaker approached the piano calmly, his fingers hovering over the keys for a brief moment as he allowed himself to center his thoughts. The laughter in the room was a background noise now, a stark contrast to the quiet intensity of the music that was about to emerge. He took a deep breath and began to play. The first notes were soft, deliberate, and precise. There was an unexpected clarity and richness to the sound that immediately caught the attention of the audience. The laughter began to fade, replaced by surprise and curiosity. Students leaned forward, teachers paused mid-action, and the organizers of the event exchanged astonished glances. The caretaker's hands moved with grace and confidence, each note resonating with skill and emotion. The music flowed naturally, a blend of technical mastery and heartfelt expression that no one in the room had anticipated. As the melody continued, it became clear that this was not a simple performance. The caretaker's fingers danced across the keys, weaving complex patterns and harmonies that revealed years of dedicated practice. The audience was captivated, their initial amusement replaced by admiration and wonder. Each note told a story, conveying emotion, experience, and depth that words could not capture. The students who had laughed moments before now sat in stunned silence, unable to tear their eyes away from the piano. Teachers and staff, too, were absorbed, recognizing the audience sat in a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. Just moments ago, they had been laughing, assuming that the caretaker's performance would be a lighthearted, almost comical interlude. Now silence filled the auditorium as the first notes of his music echoed, surprising everyone. His hands moved effortlessly across the keys, producing a melody that was both intricate and deeply expressive. The soft opening notes carried a warmth that drew people in, immediately transforming the energy of the room. Students who had joked moments before found themselves leaning forward in their seats, caught between disbelief and fascination. The caretaker's focus was absolute. He did not glance at the audience, nor did he seek their approval. His attention was solely on the piano, on the music flowing from his hands. Every movement was deliberate, each note chosen with care to communicate emotion, thought, and a story that had been hidden for years. The audience could feel it, the authenticity and depth of his performance. There was no pretense, no need for applause, just a quiet mastery that emanated from a lifetime of dedication and passion. As the music continued, the complexity increased. What had begun as a soft, simple melody evolved into a series of rapid passages that showcased both technical skill and emotional depth. The caretaker moved with grace, his fingers dancing over the keys with precision and confidence. Every chord resonated, every note seemed to tell a story. The audience was captivated, unable to look away, realizing that this was far beyond anything they had expected. Teachers exchanged astonished glances, students whispered in awe, and even those who had been most skeptical could not help but be drawn into the unfolding performance. There was a natural progression to the music, a rhythm that mirrored life itself. Gentle, reflective passages alternated with powerful, expressive sequences, creating a journey that evoked a range of emotions. The caretaker's performance was not just about showcasing talent. It was about connecting with the audience, letting them experience the depth and beauty of his artistry. Each note carried meaning, and each transition flowed seamlessly into the next, reflecting years of study, practice, and an intuitive understanding of music. As the melody built, the caretaker introduced subtle variations and flourishes, adding layers of complexity and emotion. The audience began to respond instinctively. Some closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, while others sat in stunned silence, their attention completely absorbed. Even the students who had laughed at the initial suggestion were now captivated, their previous amusement replaced by admiration and awe. It was clear that the caretaker's talent had transcended expectations, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. The performance was more than technical skill. It was a story unfolding through sound. The caretaker's music spoke of patience, resilience, and quiet dedication. Each note seemed to carry a piece of his life, a reflection of his experiences, struggles, and moments of solitude spent at the piano. The audience could sense the authenticity behind every chord, the honesty in every phrase. The laughter and skepticism that had greeted him at the beginning of the event were now distant memories, replaced by respect and genuine appreciation. Gradually, the caretaker transitioned into a more dynamic section. The tempo increased and the energy in the room shifted. The audience felt the intensity, the passion that poured from the piano. The rapid sequences were executed flawlessly, a testament to years of disciplined practice and innate musical understanding. The complexity of the performance was breathtaking, and the audience could not help but be mesmerized. Even those who had initially doubted him were now captivated, recognizing the extraordinary talent that had been hidden in plain sight for so long. Throughout the performance, the caretaker maintained a sense of humility and focus. He did not seek validation or recognition. His motivation was the music itself. Yet in sharing he He created a profound connection with the audience. They were drawn into his world, experiencing the beauty, depth, and emotion that his music conveyed. The room seemed to vibrate with energy, as if the piano had become a bridge between the caretaker and everyone listening. There was a shared understanding, a collective appreciation for the dedication and passion that had made this moment possible. As the performance continued, the audience began to notice the subtle nuances in the music. The caretaker incorporated gentle pauses, delicate phrasing, and expressive dynamics that added richness and depth. Each section told a different part of the story, evoking emotions ranging from introspection to exhilaration. The audience was no longer merely watching a performance. They were experiencing a journey. The caretaker's music had the power to transform the space, to capture attention and evoke a profound emotional response that words could not describe. The students, who had been preparing their own performances for the event, were particularly affected. They had come expecting entertainment, perhaps even a humorous interlude, and instead found themselves witnessing something transformative. Whispers of admiration spread through the auditorium, and many could not help but share their astonishment with those seated nearby. Teachers, too, were visibly moved, recognizing the years of effort, skill, and dedication that had gone into the caretaker's performance. The audience's collective perception had shifted, and the laughter from earlier was now replaced by a deep and sincere respect. The caretaker, fully immersed in the music, did not pause or falter. He allowed the natural flow of the melody to guide him, creating an organic progression that held the audience in rapt attention. The combination of technical mastery and emotional expression was seamless, each element enhancing the other. The audience. The music flowed seamlessly from the caretaker's fingers, each note carrying a depth of emotion that surprised everyone in the auditorium. The laughter that had greeted him earlier was completely gone, replaced by wide-eyed admiration and silent awe. Every chord he struck seemed to pull the audience further into the world he was creating, a place where emotion, dedication, and skill intersected in perfect harmony. Students leaned forward in their seats, whispers of astonishment spreading quietly, while teachers exchanged amazed glances, realizing they had underestimated someone they had long overlooked. The caretaker played with an intensity that was both mesmerizing and intimate. He did not rush. Instead, each section of the music was carefully crafted, building naturally and drawing the audience into its story. He shifted effortlessly between gentle, reflective passages and powerful, dramatic sequences that showcased the full extent of his technical mastery. His performance was not just about the notes on the piano. It was a reflection of his life, his quiet determination, and the countless hours of practice that had brought him to this moment. Each melody seemed to tell a story, capturing feelings of hope, struggle, resilience, and triumph. As the music continued, the audience became more and more captivated. The students who had mocked him were now completely silent, unable to look away. Their previous laughter felt almost distant and insignificant compared to the awe and inspiration they were experiencing. Teachers, too, were visibly moved, some even holding back tears as they realized the depth of talent in the caretaker. The energy in the room had transformed. What had been an ordinary school event had become a powerful display of human creativity and emotional expression. The caretaker's music reached into the hearts of everyone present, creating a connection that transcended age, status, and expectation. The complexity of his performance grew with each passing moment. Rapid sequences, intricate fingerwork, and layered harmonies intertwined seamlessly, demonstrating a level of skill that few had expected. The caretaker's hands moved with fluidity and precision, conveying not only technical excellence but also an emotional depth that resonated with every listener. The audience was mesmerized, their attention completely captured by the unfolding performance. It was clear that this was more than a simple display of talent. It was a powerful and authentic expression of his inner world. Throughout the performance, the caretaker maintained a quiet humility. He did not seek validation or recognition, though it became increasingly evident that he had earned both. His focus was on the music itself, on the story it could tell and the emotions it could evoke. The audience, meanwhile, was responding instinctively, swept up in the beauty and intricacy of the music. Some students closed their eyes, letting themselves be carried away by the melody, while others sat in stunned silence, fully aware of the extraordinary display before them. Even the teachers who had once doubted him were now completely engaged, recognizing the remarkable talent and dedication that had remained hidden for so long. The caretaker's music began to incorporate subtle nuances, delicate phrasing, and expressive dynamics that enhanced the emotional impact. He added gentle pauses, sudden crescendos, and soft diminuendos that gave the performance depth and richness. Each movement of his hands seemed deliberate and thoughtful, as if every note had been chosen not only for its sound but also for its emotional resonance. The audience could sense the care and precision behind every passage, appreciating the dedication that had allowed such artistry to flourish in someone they had overlooked for so long. As the piece progressed, the caretaker introduced a series of intricate patterns that seemed almost impossible to execute. Yet he performed them effortlessly, demonstrating a level of mastery that left the audience breathless. The speed and complexity of the sequences were balanced by a musicality that made the performance feel natural and expressive, rather than mechanical. It was clear that his talent had been cultivated over many years, with patience, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. The audience, now fully entranced, could not help but feel a sense of respect and admiration for the caretaker, who had quietly developed a genius that none had anticipated. The emotional intensity of the music continued to build. The caretaker's performance told a story that went beyond technique, reaching into the hearts of those listening. Moments of reflection, tension, and release were woven together to create a musical narrative that was both powerful and deeply moving. The audience felt the full range of emotions: awe, inspiration, empathy, and a sense of shared human experience. Students who had once laughed now sat in rapt attention, while teachers found themselves emotionally stirred, recognizing the extraordinary impact of what they were witnessing. The caretaker's hands moved with confidence and grace, drawing from years of disciplined practice and a deep understanding of the piano. Each chord resonated through the auditorium, carrying with it a story that had long been kept in the shadows. The audience was captivated, fully immersed in the music that unfolded like a living narrative. Students leaned forward, captivated by the sound, while teachers and staff sat in awe, realizing that the person they had overlooked every day possessed a talent that could leave anyone speechless. As the performance progressed, the caretaker explored complex harmonies and subtle variations in tempo that demonstrated both technical skill and emotional intelligence. The music had a life of its own, flowing naturally and commanding attention without force. Every note was deliberate, every pause meaningful, creating a rhythm that felt both spontaneous and meticulously crafted. The audience was caught in a delicate balance of anticipation and wonder, never knowing where the music would take them next but trusting in the skill of the performer. The room felt electric, yet intimate, a rare combination that spoke to the power of the caretaker's artistry. He did not perform to impress or to seek approval. His focus was entirely on the expression of the music itself. Yet in sharing it, he created a profound connection with the audience, who felt the depth of his dedication and the sincerity of his passion. It was clear that this was not just a performance but a revelation, a window into the life and soul of a man who had quietly devoted himself to his craft. The music shifted, moving from gentle, reflective passages to powerful, commanding sequences that filled the room with energy. The audience could feel the intensity, sensing the years of practice, patience, and resilience that had shaped every movement. Students who had once laughed were now completely silent, some holding their breath as they absorbed the complexity and beauty of the performance. Teachers were visibly moved, whispering to one another in disbelief at the hidden talent they had so casually ignored. The caretaker's music demanded attention, respect, and emotional engagement, and the audience responded instinctively. Each note and chord conveyed a depth of feeling that words could not capture. The caretaker's fingers moved fluidly across the keys, each motion precise yet expressive. The audience was transported, feeling the emotions embedded in the music, from subtle melancholy to joyous exuberance. The nuances of his performance were astonishing. The gentle crescendos, sudden shifts in rhythm, and delicate flourishes added layers of meaning that captivated the listeners completely. The room seemed to hold its collective breath, united in the experience of witnessing something extraordinary. The caretaker's performance was a testament to the beauty of dedication and perseverance. He had spent countless hours honing, His skill, often in solitude, and the depth of his mastery was evident in every phrase he played. The audience could sense the authenticity and sincerity behind the music, the life lived quietly and intensely that had given rise to this moment. What had begun as a simple suggestion for a humorous performance had transformed into a profound and moving experience, leaving everyone in the auditorium both inspired and humbled. As the music continued, the caretaker introduced intricate passages that demanded attention and admiration. The combination of technical brilliance and emotional resonance was mesmerizing. Students whispered to each other, amazed at the complexity and beauty of what they were hearing. Teachers nodded in quiet awe, some glancing at one another in shared recognition of the extraordinary talent in front of them. Even those who had been skeptical moments earlier were now fully engaged, unable to look away or ignore the power of the performance. The caretaker's music was not only impressive for its technical mastery, but also for its expressive qualities. Each phrase told a story, evoking emotions and memories, and drawing the audience into an intimate shared experience. The delicate shifts in dynamics, the careful timing, and the thoughtful use of silence all contributed to a performance that was both mesmerizing and deeply human. It was evident that this was not a display meant to impress superficially, but a heartfelt communication, a dialogue between the performer and the audience. The music grew in intensity, the energy in the room rising with each powerful sequence. The caretaker's hands moved with purpose and precision, translating emotion into sound in a way that seemed effortless. The audience felt the passion behind every note, the quiet confidence of someone who had nurtured a gift in obscurity and was now sharing it without hesitation. Students who had once doubted him now sat in rapt attention, their previous laughter replaced by genuine admiration. Teachers and staff alike were captivated, recognizing the extraordinary combination of talent, practice, and authenticity that defined this moment. As the performance progressed, the caretaker seamlessly integrated subtle improvisations that enhanced the musical narrative. The unexpected variations were both daring and masterful, highlighting his deep understanding. The caretaker's performance continued to captivate the audience, holding them in a state of awe and admiration. Each note was deliberate, each chord a reflection of the years of dedication and practice that had gone unnoticed for so long. The room, once filled with laughter and mockery, was now silent, every listener absorbed in the music. Students who had initially doubted him were now leaning forward in their seats, their eyes wide with astonishment. Teachers and staff exchanged looks of disbelief, realizing they had underestimated the quiet caretaker who had walked these halls for years without recognition. The music grew more expressive and dynamic, moving effortlessly from soft, contemplative passages to powerful, commanding sequences. The caretaker's fingers danced across the keys, showcasing technical mastery and a deep emotional understanding. Each phrase told a story, drawing the audience into a journey of feeling and imagination. The students were mesmerized, some closing their eyes to better absorb the emotion, while others whispered to one another in quiet amazement. The teachers, too, were visibly moved, recognizing that this performance was not just about skill but about the heart and soul of the man behind the music. The caretaker's humility shone through in his playing. He did not perform to impress, nor did he seek validation. The music itself was his voice, a way to communicate what words could not. Yet in sharing it, he created a connection that touched everyone present. The audience felt the sincerity and passion behind every note, understanding that this was the culmination of years of dedication and quiet perseverance. The laughter and doubt from earlier had vanished, replaced by respect and admiration that grew with each passing moment. As the performance continued, the caretaker introduced subtle variations and improvisations, adding layers of complexity to the music. These unexpected flourishes showcased not only his technical skill, but also his creativity and intuition. The audience was captivated, unable to look away as the music evolved and transformed before them. Students whispered in amazement, some visibly moved by the emotion conveyed, while teachers and staff silently acknowledged the depth of his talent. It was clear that the caretaker's abilities had been cultivated in private, honed through years of dedication and unrecognized effort. and now they were shining brilliantly in the public eye. The performance was a tapestry of emotion, weaving together moments of reflection, tension, and triumph. The caretaker's hands moved with precision and grace, each movement purposeful yet expressive. The audience was completely absorbed, feeling the full range of emotion conveyed through the music. What had been a simple, almost comical suggestion for a performance had transformed into a powerful and moving experience. The caretaker had turned a moment of doubt and mockery into a showcase of talent, leaving an indelible impression on everyone present. The room seemed to pulse with energy as the caretaker transitioned into a particularly intricate section of the piece. Rapid passages, complex harmonies, and delicate phrasing combined to create a performance that was technically brilliant and emotionally compelling. The audience could sense the years of discipline, patience, and dedication that had gone into developing such a skill. Students who had been laughing moments before were now fully engaged, their previous mockery replaced by admiration and awe. Teachers, too, were visibly moved, some exchanging quiet, astonished glances as they witnessed the extraordinary display of artistry. The caretaker's ability to convey emotion through music was remarkable. Each note, each chord, each pause carried meaning and intention. The audience could feel the depth of his experience, the quiet resilience, and the dedication that had brought him to this moment. His performance was not only technically impressive, but also deeply human, connecting with the listeners on an emotional level. Students and teachers alike were drawn into the narrative of the music, experiencing the story that the caretaker was telling through sound alone. As the music progressed, the caretaker's performance reached new heights of complexity and expression. The rapid sequences and intricate harmonies were executed flawlessly, demonstrating years of disciplined practice and an innate understanding of the piano. Yet despite the technical brilliance, the performance never felt mechanical. It was infused with feeling, with a sense of purpose and authenticity that resonated deeply with the audience. The students were captivated, some leaning forward, their faces reflecting amazement, while others whispered to one another, sharing their astonishment and newfound respect for the caretaker. The dynamic range of the performance was impressive, shifting seamlessly from gentle, reflective passages to powerful, resonant sections that filled the room with sound. The caretaker's fingers moved with fluidity and precision, creating a soundscape that was both intricate and emotive. Every listener could feel the dedication, passion, and heart behind each note. The laughter and skepticism that had greeted him at the beginning of the event were gone, replaced by admiration and awe. The caretaker had transformed a moment that could have been humiliating into a showcase of talent that left a lasting impression. Throughout the performance, the caretaker maintained an unwavering focus, his attention fully on the music. There was no need for validation or recognition. The music itself was the reward. Yet in sharing it, he had captivated the audience, creating a profound and memorable experience. The students who had once doubted him were now inspired, understanding that true talent and dedication could exist quietly, unnoticed, until the right moment brought it to light. Teachers and staff were equally affected, recognizing that this performance was a testament to the human spirit and the power of perseverance. As the piece neared its conclusion, the caretaker introduced a series of expressive phrases that showcased both technical mastery and emotional depth. The audience was fully absorbed, each note capturing their attention and drawing them deeper into the music. The performance was a journey, moving through a range of emotions and experiences that left a lasting impact on everyone present. Students whispered to one another, sharing their amazement and newfound respect, while teachers quietly reflected on the dedication and resilience that had made this moment possible. The caretaker's music had transformed the atmosphere of the auditorium. What had begun as a moment of humor and doubt had become an inspiring demonstration of skill, passion, and humanity. The audience was no longer merely listening. They were experiencing the story, the emotion, and the dedication that had shaped the caretaker's life. The performance had silenced skepticism, replaced laughter with admiration, and left an indelible mark on everyone present. In this moment, the caretaker's quiet genius had been revealed, changing the way the audience perceived him and the power of dedication and talent that can flourish in unexpected places. Ending of music and his ability to convey emotion with precision. The audience was mesmerized, each note revealing a new layer of skill and expressiveness. The initial mockery and laughter had vanished, replaced by awe and an appreciation for the remarkable talent that had been hidden in plain sight for so long. The caretaker had transformed a simple suggestion into a profound and unforgettable experience. The music ebbed and flowed with grace, moving from soft, delicate melodies to powerful, commanding passages. The contrast created a rich and immersive experience, capturing the full attention of the audience. Students whispered their amazement, some with tears in their eyes, while teachers reflected on the dedication and perseverance that had made such artistry possible. The caretaker's quiet humility and focus only enhanced the impact of his performance, allowing the audience to appreciate the depth and authenticity of his gift without distraction. Throughout the performance, the caretaker maintained a sense of calm and focus, allowing the music to speak for itself. There was no need for applause or recognition. The performance was an expression of his life's work, a culmination of years of effort, patience, and love for music. The audience could sense the sincerity behind every note, feeling a connection that transcended social expectations or superficial judgments. What had been expected to be a humorous interlude had become a transformative experience, leaving a lasting impression on everyone in the room. The final section of this part of the performance was both intricate and expressive, showcasing the full range of the caretaker's skill. Rapid sequences, delicate harmonies, and expressive dynamics combined to create a piece that was technically brilliant and emotionally resonant. The audience was fully absorbed, every eye fixed on the piano, every ear attuned to the nuances of the music. The caretaker's performance had silenced the room and captured hearts, turning laughter into admiration and disbelief into respect. The impact of his music was undeniable, creating a moment that would be remembered long after the final note had faded. Caretaker's music had transformed the room, leaving no one untouched. As the caretaker approached the middle of his performance, he began to explore more delicate and intricate melodies, soft flowing passages intertwined with sharp, precise notes, creating a dynamic contrast that kept the audience fully engaged. His fingers moved with such skill that it seemed as though the piano itself had come alive, responding to his touch and expressing a wide range of emotions. Every listener could sense the years of practice, the moments of solitude spent perfecting his craft, and the quiet dedication that had brought him to this point. The performance was no longer just a display of talent. It was an intimate glimpse into the soul of a man who had devoted his life to music. The caretaker's mastery of timing and phrasing added another layer of depth to the performance. He knew exactly when to linger on a note, when to accelerate, and when to let silence speak. These subtle choices enhanced the emotional resonance of the music, drawing the audience further into the story he was telling. Students whispered to one another, sharing their astonishment, while teachers nodded quietly, impressed by the skill and artistry on display. Even those who had been skeptical moments before were now completely captivated, their attention fixed on the caretaker and the music flowing from his hands. With each passing moment, the caretaker's performance became more intense. The music swelled, filling the auditorium with sound that was both powerful and emotive. The audience was completely absorbed, experiencing a range of emotions that mirrored the ebb and flow of the music itself. Students who had been joking earlier were now inspired. Some even moved to tears, while teachers found themselves reflecting on the quiet dedication and resilience that had allowed this hidden genius to emerge. The caretaker's music had become a shared experience, a moment of connection that transcended the ordinary and created something truly extraordinary. As he continued, the caretaker introduced subtle improvisations, adding his personal touch to the performance. These variations were both unexpected and masterful, demonstrating his deep understanding of music and his ability to express emotion through every note. The audience recognized the skill and creativity involved, further elevating their admiration. What had started as a humorous suggestion had transformed into a profound and unforgettable experience, leaving everyone present with a renewed sense of respect and inspiration. The caretaker's quiet life had suddenly become a powerful story of talent, dedication, and the surprising ways in which genius can manifest. By the end of this section, the audience was fully captivated. The caretaker had silenced the room, replacing laughter with awe and admiration. Students, teachers, and staff were united in their recognition of his extraordinary talent, and many could hardly believe what they had witnessed. The caretaker, immersed in the music, remained humble, allowing the performance itself to speak for him. His focus, dedication, and skill had created an unforgettable experience, one that would leave a lasting impression on everyone present and challenge the way they perceived talent and possibility. Could feel the care and thoughtfulness behind every movement, the deliberate pacing and the artistry that had been honed through years of private dedication. The performance was not just a display of skill. It was a testament to the power of passion, perseverance, and authenticity. As the section neared its conclusion, the caretaker slowed the tempo, introducing a gentle, reflective passage. The contrast between the intense sequences and this quieter moment highlighted the range of his talent and the depth of his musical understanding. The audience was captivated, some leaning forward in their seats, others closing their eyes to fully absorb the emotion. The caretaker's music had created a shared experience, one that transcended age, status, and expectation. The room was united by the beauty and power of his performance. When the final notes of the section faded into silence, there was a brief pause, a moment of collective awe. The audience took in what they had just witnessed, the realization of the caretaker's extraordinary talent sinking in. There were no words at first, just stunned silence as people processed the transformation that had occurred. The laughter and mockery that had accompanied the initial suggestion were gone, replaced by genuine admiration and a sense of inspiration. The caretaker had turned a moment of doubt into a remarkable display of artistry, touching hearts and changing perceptions in a single performance. The audience erupted into applause, the sound echoing through the auditorium. It was sincere, heartfelt, and enthusiastic, a reflection of the impact the caretaker's music had made. Students stood clapping and cheering, some wiping tears from their eyes, while teachers and staff expressed their appreciation and astonishment. The caretaker acknowledged the applause with a humble nod, his focus still on the piano, letting the music itself speak as the ultimate expression of gratitude. The performance had not only captivated the audience but had also created a lasting impression, one that would be remembered long after the event had ended. In the moments following the applause, people began to approach the caretaker, expressing their admiration and amazement. Questions were asked about his experience, his training, and the inspiration behind his music. The caretaker responded simply, with humility and grace, allowing his story to emerge naturally through conversation rather than seeking attention. The impact of his performance extended beyond the music itself. It was a demonstration of perseverance, passion, and the power of embracing one's talents, even in the face of skepticism and doubt. By the end of the event, it was clear that the caretaker had changed the way everyone in the auditorium viewed him. The laughter and teasing from earlier were now distant memories, replaced by a profound respect for his skill, dedication, and authenticity. The performance had not only revealed a hidden talent, but it also provided a valuable lesson. Appearances can be deceiving, and true genius can be found in the most unexpected places. The caretaker's quiet life had been transformed, and the audience left with a lasting impression of a man who had silenced a room and touched countless hearts with his extraordinary music. Extraordinary talent of a man they had often overlooked. The caretaker played with a quiet intensity, allowing the music to rise and fall naturally. He moved seamlessly between gentle, reflective passages and powerful, expressive sequences. The audience felt the emotion in every note, understanding that this performance was a reflection of a lifetime of dedication and passion. The laughter that had greeted him earlier was now gone, replaced by a reverent silence. People began to realize that they were witnessing something rare and authentic, a display of talent and artistry that could not be anticipated or contained. With each passing moment, the caretaker's confidence grew. He allowed the music to guide him, letting the flow of the melody dictate his movements. The room seemed to fade away, leaving only the sound of the piano and the emotions it conveyed. The audience was drawn into the performance, experiencing a connection that transcended words and social expectations. The caretaker's humility and focus made the music even more powerful, as it was clear that he played not for recognition, but for the pure joy of expression and the opportunity to share his gift. By the time the first section of his performance concluded, the audience was completely captivated. The laughter that had greeted him was a distant memory, replaced by admiration, awe, and a newfound respect. Students whispered to one another, acknowledging that they had underestimated the caretaker, while teachers nodded in appreciation, impressed by the skill and emotion